This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stockbox interview. Joining us today is Peter Cashin, the President and CEO of Imperial Mining Group, listed on the TSXV with the ticker IPG and the OTCQB with the ticker IMPNF. So, hello Peter, welcome. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you very much. How about yourself, Mark?
Yes, very good. Thank you, Peter. Thank you for your time today. I wonder if you can start us off by perhaps just introducing the company, the projects, and what the company is all about.
Certainly. Just to start, our flagship properties in northeastern Quebec called the Crater Lake project. It's a Scandium rare earth opportunity. And then, of course, we have two gold properties in the prolific Abitibi Greenstone Belt of Quebec. Mm-hmm. We were formed as a result of an RTO that put my Scandium project, merged it with some base metal and gold projects, and then we listed as Imperial in January of 2018. And subsequent to that, our real focus has been on developing our critical metals property.
Okay. So when you talk about critical minerals, you're talking here about rare earths, and in particular Scandium, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. What can you tell us about Scandium then? It is a rare earth, but particularly what is Scandium? Where is it used?
Scandium, basically, it was first discovered by the Russians as being a very ideal alloy agent to aluminum. It has the effect by adding very, very small percentages in the order of 0.2 to 0.4% scandium in with aluminum metal, creates an alloy that has the equivalent mechanical properties of titanium as well as steel. So in the instance of the drive to reduce carbon footprint of transportation platforms, it's the ideal material in that it's 1/3 the weight of steel, and it's 40% lighter than titanium, and 1/10 the price as well. So you can think of platforms such as automotive, aerospace, commercial aerospace, as well as defense platforms that are heavy, want to reduce their carbon footprint, want to make them more fuel efficient, and or in the instance of electric vehicles, by lightening up the platform weight, you extend battery range.
Mm-hmm. So could you give us a sense of perhaps the market opportunity for Scandium then? Where are most of the deposits and where is it sourced from currently? And what is the opportunity for, I guess, the United States is going to be your focus?
The United States and Europe, actually. Right now, the primary producers are China, Russia, and there's a small amount of production that comes out of byproduct from nickel, cobalt, laterite operations in the Philippines. Mm-hmm. But that really only counts for 35 tons of annual production a year. That's really that's pretty well capped out. And the issue is that the science behind the impacts of scandium input into aluminum are well known, but that the issue's always been the lack of sustainable supply. Because as a good example, in discussions we've had with a major European automotive manufacturer, they would require as much as 70 tons of scandium per year for the scandium aluminum casings of electric motors. Well, right now, 35 tons really doesn't satisfy that one demand. Mm-hmm. And I think generally, as part of a preliminary economic assessment that we're doing on our what we call Crater Lake flagship property, we view that from 2026-27, which is the anticipated startup date of our operation, there could be at least 200 tons of scandium would be required in the automotive and aerospace sectors. And we view that CAGR growth on scandium consumption with increased production capacity could be as much as 11%, 12% CAGR, compound annual growth per year, right through to 2040. By 2040, there could be as much as 2,000 tons of scandium demand.
Okay. Could you tell me a bit about the Crater Lake project then? You say you're working on a PEA, so it's not a green, grassroots project, is it? It is.
It's brownfield right now. We've been there. The original discovery. The story behind that is when I was the president CEO of Quest Rare Minerals. In addition to developing the Crater Lake or the Strange Lake heavy rare earth element project north, approximately 120 kilometers north of this current property, we made a subsequent discovery of the Crater Lake project. But it was only a bit of a sideline. Most of the development capital was going into the development of the Strange Lake. But I wanted to keep it going. So we identified it in 2007 as a geophysical target. And at the end of the field season, the crews went out and did some preliminary sampling and came back. They came back with between 7 and 9% total rare earths. So very significant. We staked it immediately, and then we undertook a number of projects, but we were never really able to put together a significant resource picture until 2014. 2014, I told my crews at the time it was drill to kill. Either they find me a sustainable economic resource or we walk from the property. And that's when we made this scandium discovery. And in that discovery, we drilled up to 200 meters of core length into this very, very high grade scandium rare earth opportunity. We went back to the original data and we recognized that in actual fact, it's a large volcanic caldera. So in other words, as the center part of the volcano collapses, a ring fault develops, and the scandium bearing material is pushed up towards the surface. So we've actually chased the favorable horizon around for about 14 kilometers in strike length. And we've identified about 4 areas where we have resource indications. We converted one of them this past fall into a 43101 resource. And it's on that basis that we're undertaking a preliminary economic assessment. We had early indications from our internal financial model that it would be a very, very robust operation. So now that we're moving that forward, but it's the quality of the inputs. What's really critically important to know is in developing these projects, although you can get grade, they tend to be fairly refractory, very, very difficult to liberate the pay minerals out of the ores. So we worked very hard on developing a process flow sheet to liberate not only the scandium, but the rare earths. And we were successful in doing so. We've applied for a U.S. patent for the process because there are other deposits globally that have similar characteristics. And like anything else, if you don't have an efficient process to recover these metals, it's just rock, regardless of the grades that you get in assays and the size of the resources you can build. So that's kind of like where we're at this point in time of the development of the project.
Okay. And how are you working out the best way to recover the scandium then? I noticed from some recent news that you actually secured or were awarded a large amount of money by the Quebec government to help you in the research of this process.
That's correct. Well, we've got a process. It's been patented, but it's very preliminary. The Quebec grant, which is 245,000 Canadian, is actually going towards the optimization of the process. So when you develop a flow sheet, there's always opportunities to reduce costs, improve recoveries. And I think there's a real drive right now, as scandium is an important input and reduction of carbon footprint of transportation platforms. We are looking to do the same with our process technology.
Okay. So some key milestones to look out for then: refining the recovery process and, of course, the completion of the PEA. What does the roadmap look like? Can you have any other key milestones, or could you give an indication of time as well when we might expect to see these things complete?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the PEA, at least the preliminary data, should be ready in hand for assessment internally by the end of March. We just started the process optimization work in the last couple of weeks. We estimate it'll be about 6 months to complete that from the current. So with the optimization steps, we have till December of this year to file a formal patent application, and we would require the inputs of the results of this optimization work. So that's will happen towards the end of the year, and then once we have the PEA and the optimization work in hand, the intent is to now upscale the process to a pilot plant study. That will probably happen at the end of the year. We collected, we prepared about a 50-ton bulk sample on the property of the mineralization because it outcrops its surface. We've shipped out 18 tons in the instance to be used for the pilot plant. So that will start up at the end of the year, and then obviously a decision with the PA will be made to move on to more advanced studies like a pre-feasibility or feasibility study. Okay. That decision should be made sometimes this year.
Okay. So with the market cap currently of approximately 25 million Canadian, when the PEA lands, that will really, I would guess, investors will be able to see quite clearly a potential value attributed here that would you say would underpin the current valuation, or could perhaps suggest it could be higher?
Well, the anticipation is, and the hope is, that it will be higher. The resource market these days is very difficult to gauge. But certainly, it provides investors with an opportunity to put a financial pin into the nature of this operation. But also, there are a number of strategic investment groups, as well as the Quebec government, that have expressed interest in enhancing the investment of the project. But the basic requirement is a PEA. And really, that's been my driver, is to get the PEA in the hands of these entities so they can make investment decision in support of our development.
Okay. And just on the jurisdiction and where you're operating, is it slightly remote? Is it difficult to get access, or are you addressing that problem?
Well, inevitably, very little, and 95% of Canada's resource value is south of the 45th parallel latitude, north latitude. Most of the projects, north, we have a number of them. The Raglan nickel cobalt operation, and that's on the north shore of Quebec in the Bay of Ungava, the Sea of Ungava. What you require to develop those projects are large, high-grade opportunities to offset the enhanced infrastructure risk of developing those things. And we feel that we have it in our Crater Lake project, and currently we have about 48 years of resource at the notional production rate on the property. But we have other opportunities to significantly expand that resource base, as well as to increase the average grades. In terms of average grades, I mean, it's hundreds of grams per ton of scandium. But if you look at a gold equivalent of that value, it's probably in the order of 6 to 12 grams per ton gold equivalent. So, and we're talking, and some of the other resource areas that we want to develop, anywhere between 75 meters and 115 meters of continuous mineralization. So ultimately, I think if we were a gold company and we were able to report these kinds of grades and intersections, we certainly wouldn't be a $25 million market cap company. So I think the upside is quite significant.
Okay. Let me just finish with some final thoughts from you on perhaps the mining commodity cycle and the supply of critical minerals. At the moment, things are quite volatile in the space. We can probably assume that is due to geopolitical issues at the moment. But where do you see things going? And if you've seen a few cycles before, what's your opinion on the next upcycle, let's say, in mining commodity space?
Well, with if you followed the rare earth run up in between 2009 and 2011, which I was involved with when I ran Quest, there's always the fear with these kinds of prices, they're going to cause demand destruction. And you certainly hope that it'll be a short-term matter. Mm. But I think what it certainly geopolitical issues related to resources is critically important. You saw it with the Chinese holding back on rare earth supply in the conflict with Japan. You now see the dependence of Europe on Russian gas and petroleum products. You always have to be concerned that you do, and that's what the U.S. and Canada are doing. They want to lessen the dependence, certainly on China, for critical materials by supporting collaboratively the development of resources, and it's based on as opposed to a global supply chain model, more of a local or continental scale supply chain.
Okay, well, Peter Cashin, the President and CEO of Imperial Mining Group, thank you very much for your time today.
Pleasure. Good talking to you.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stopboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.